in an auto until it died after it became angry while she was at a Pink concert. Perez charged with aggravated assault, animal cruelty, and terrorizing. And the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources hoping the drought affecting parts of the state will not have a big impact on this year's fall colors. The agency began sharing updates on the changing leaf color across the state through its online fall color finder. This week's color map showing leaves beginning to change slightly in the northwest and western parts of the state. The peak of default color change expected later this month and into mid-October. I'm Ty Schoenert with WDAY and WDAYRadioNow.com. First with the news when you need to know.
Moorhead football heads down I-94 tonight for an intersectional skirmish with Rogers. The Spuds and Royals put their games on the line, looking to stay unbeaten on the year. Kickoff is set for 7 o'clock. Join us for all the action tonight. Moorhead and Rogers on 970 WDAY 93.1 FM.
Your broadcast home for Moorhead Spud Sports is WDAY Radio, AM 970 and FM 93.1. This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this finally Friday. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm here with Ag Director Bridgette Readel and Dean Wysocki on his way down to the Twin Cities. I believe he's going to a Vikings game, so he's down in the cities 2 times in the last 2 weekends. We'll see what kind of trouble he gets in this week. Thanks for joining us. Bridgette, how is your day going? I've been gone for a few days. I'm not quite sure if I know how this show works anymore.
I was just going to ask, who are you? I haven't seen you all week. I haven't seen you since last week.
Yeah, it's been a long, good handful of days, I'll tell you that.
Are you still kind of pukey? Because I don't need that.
Oh, no, I'm not sick, but the baby is, and he can't go to daycare, and so we've been trying to figure it out, and then the wife got sick, so they're both sick, so I've just been kind of staying home taking care of everybody, and my super immunity is leaving me unsick, so
really?
That's a good thing.
Is that what does it? It's the thunder in your blood?
It's either that or it's all the booze, but 1.5% can at a time, folks. It'll cure anything. I'm just kidding.
It'll be fine. Well, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad I didn't get sick. So that's always a plus. It's no fun being sick.
Well, good news. If you're about to be on the upward swing of good health, you are going to have an ideal weekend to do that. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. What's the weather look like?
Yeah, you'll be most of the weekend shaping up to be pretty nice. If you got any morning plans on your Saturday morning, yeah, probably be dodging a few scattered showers, but outside of that, everything looks to be pretty nice. We're shooting for high temperatures today, right around 78 degrees. Little hazy sunshine clouds will be pulling in throughout the day, leading into cloudy conditions tonight. The wind, not bad. It'll be about 5 to 15, gusting to 20 at times as it turns more northerly throughout the day today, and then the wind will go light for tonight, down to lows in the upper 50s, right around 57 here in Fargo, and we'll also watch for a couple isolated showers pushing in from the west, mainly after 10 o'clock, and then we'll get those scattered and isolated showers to persist through the rest of tonight and into Saturday morning, but by noon, it's looking like we'll get an increased amounts of sunshine through the back half of the day. It's still going to be possible for an isolated pop-up shower or two. It's just most of the area is going to remain dry after noon, with temperatures peaking near 74, lower in mid-70s around the area, colder up north. North winds about 5 to 15. And for Sunday, again, an isolated pop-up shower is possible, but much drier on Sunday. We won't have the morning rains. Temperatures will be right around 72 in the afternoon. Northeast winds about 10 to 15. So it's shaping up to be a nice, cool weekend. And I thought it was very fitting that the day after Labor Day, temperatures drop out of the 90s into the 70s with morning temperatures in the 40s to 50s. I've been loving it. I don't know about you, Bridgette, but those cool, crisp days are some of my favorite.
I don't think this is a surprise, though, because we've talked several times about the fact that the weather really starts to turn about Labor Day, and we start to see a lot of change in our crop, especially our soybeans. So I'm just going to slide right into that. First of all, for those who've been following along for the last few months, we've been raising 20 acres of soybeans. That's called the Here We Grow project, and we are taking those soybeans to yield. We're going to take that yield, and then we're going to turn it into profits that we are going to give to the Great Plains Food Bank. And all along, we've been documenting this on our website. You're able to follow and see what's happening, whether it was from the time that we did seed selection to the time that we got our sponsors involved with crop insurance, with banking, with Titan, one of our local dealerships as well, with equipment. And it's been a great project to follow, which led to the fact that we have a guest today who is probably going to be our soybean guru, Justin. She can tell you if that yield you want is within reach or not. And that is Dr. Carrie Miranda. I'm going to get that wrong a bunch, aren't I?
Husband's last name, so that way we can avoid.
Oh, okay, there you go. So because I've called you Miranda like 3 times now, but it's Carrie, Dr.
Yes.
Carrie Miranda, and she is the soybean breeder at NDSU. So I just want you to know before we even get to your whole background, Justin wants us to get 65 bushel soybeans out of that 20 acres. Is that a yes or a no possibility?
What was that? What do you mean that? Ooh.
Yeah, so if you look at the state averages, that would be, that's an optimistic, desire. The past 3 years, the state average was about 45 bushels per acre for Cass County. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's just but that does include 2021, which we know was a drought year.
Right.
So 2022, we had a late planting similar to this year, and we had some all-time high yields.
Yeah.
And 2023, I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but my beans are looking good. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know how, well, especially with the meteorologist here, I don't know how you guys feel about certain expressions, but I've been here at NDSU.
We are unfiltered. I mean, the only thing is I was told when I took this job, don't swear a lot. And so feel free to bring
Just
it.
choose which words you say.
Yeah,
It's more the SNOW word, right? That's the one. I've been here for 3 years. We have not harvested in the snow yet, and I just feel like we're overdue. So that's my biggest concern. Maybe you have some insight, but right now, I feel like we've made it past at least the early frost damage.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fair.
my pod fill is done. So
And that's going to be something that we need to talk about. I was in the field yesterday, and I uprooted one of our plants. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Justin. I took a plant out of the ground. And by the way, due to lack of rainfall, ground hard as rock, unable to stick a hand soil probe in the ground yesterday. Also,
Nice.
yeah, I wasn't going to jump on that. So no. But off of one of our plants, I took 33 pods, anywhere from 1 to 3 beans per pod. They don't feel terribly full yet.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of room to go yet for the size of those pods or the size of those beans, right?
Well, again, it depends. Some of the locations that I've looked at are we're full and already drying down.
Okay.
So it just depends on the maturity that you planted, what your planting date was, and then of course how much rainfall you got in your location as well.
Well, Justin, did you keep a track of how much rainfall we got? Because I mean, I can go back through our text messages and try to figure it out. I don't know.
All the rain.
All the rain.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
we got
astute.
all of the rains. It's my first soybean crop, but I think that they look really good.
It's been fun. And so there's some terms that we're going to want to talk about today too. Senescing.
Yeah.
Because what does that really mean? But I jumped way ahead of the game by just calling you into our conversation. So we have a few more minutes here before we have to take a little break. But who are you? What do you do? How'd you get to North Dakota, Carrie?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. I always want to talk about soybean. Hence the who I am is not important, right? Let's just talk about the soybean.
Yeah, I know.
So my name is Dr. Carrie Miranda. I'm an assistant professor at North Dakota State University, and I'm also the soybean breeder, the public soybean breeder for North Dakota, the state. So I don't know how many people are familiar with this. North Dakota State University is a really unique university in terms of not only having a multitude of plant breeders, but also having the entire seed system in place that our breeders can create their own varieties that can then be sold at a local dealer.
Okay, so they're
North Dakota,
publicly sold.
That's right. So North Dakota farmers can buy NDSU seed varieties, which is pretty cool because most universities don't have that infrastructure set up.
How many? Okay, because I've been well aware of NDSU, the seed varieties for a while, but how many are out there?
Ooh, well, I can only speak for soybean.
Yeah.
And we have 8. If you look, I'm pretty sure it's like around 8 if you look for it. We have 4 with glyphosate tolerance and then 4 conventional with no herbicide traits.
Okay, nothing involved with them. All right. Oh man, this is well. We want to remind folks, by the way, to get into the conversation, to ask questions of Dr. Miranda. You can reach us on the Red Wing Shoe phone line, which is 701-293-9000. This is a great opportunity for you to reach out to us, especially because North Dakota State's our university, right? We fund that as taxpayers. And these are questions that we should be asking is how can we use what happens at the university for a better benefit in farming?
Yeah, and most importantly, I need to know that one because I don't want to make guesses for what people in North Dakota want.
Yeah.
So, I find, especially when we go to field days, I find it invaluable, the questions and the insight and the concerns that people have because it frames how I do my research going forward.
Oh, man. Okay, so now it's time for all the farmers to dial us up. And they can also reach us by our emails, which is agorweather@flagfamily.com. So those are great opportunities to share. And what if it's somebody from out of state and they want to give you a good idea?
Well, I mean, my knowledge only goes so far. Although, I actually did my PhD in Missouri, so I might know some things about maturity group 3 soybeans. But if you want to start asking me about flax and canola, I'm going to have to refer you to somebody else.
Oh, that's okay. We'll do that.
I was wondering, is there a possibility we can get beans that grow like 4 feet tall and got about 30 pods per plant, 6 beans in every pod?
So, okay, that is interesting. There's several things that you're asking. The height can be concerning because if it's too tall, then it has a greater probability of falling over and lodging, and then then it's hard to harvest mechanically. So there's always this idea of like, hey, what should the perfect soybean plant look like? And the answer is whatever yields the most. Then that has the protected yield, because if it falls over, then that yield isn't protected. So actually, I've had this conversation. I really like talking to like the old time breeders.
Oh, they got a wealth of information.
Yeah, especially one of my colleagues from the University of Illinois who recently retired. I like to ask him questions like, oh, what about this? And he'll be like, well, so-and-so in 1968 tried that, and then they found. So I asked him this question about what should the perfect soybean plant look like? Should it be tall? Should all the pods be on the main stem? Should it branch? And that's what he told me. His sage advice was whatever yields the most. It doesn't matter what it looks like.
Oh, boy, is that a controversy amongst growers. Okay, we're going to get back to that. Folks, stick with us. Our guest today is, again, Dr. Carrie Miranda. She is the soybean breeder for North Dakota State University, and we look forward to hearing more questions from you. Justin and I will return right after this.
Livestock is mixed this afternoon for the American Ag Network. I'm Richard Risvet with this market update. The live cattle spot October contract is trading mildly lower, but that's not keeping the rest of the live cattle contracts from trading higher. Feedlot managers in the South are pleased with their decision to wait the week out to trade cattle, as prices are being noted at $180, which is $1 to $2 higher than last week's average. Asking prices for cattle left on show list remain at 180 plus in the south and 292 plus in the north. This week's volume in the cash market will be especially interesting to note on Monday when this week's data comes out. Both last week and week before, packers had only mildly supported the cash sector, which could mean that they need to either get more aggressive today and get inventory built, or that they're going to need to do so next week. There was some dress trade reported yesterday afternoon in Nebraska and Iowa at 290, which is mostly steady with last week's average. Box beef prices are higher, choice up 189 and select up 29 cents with a movement of 62 loads. The lean hog complex, though, isn't seeing the momentum nor support from traders that it hoped to see as the contracts drift mildly lower into this afternoon. Midday pork cutout values are up big, with the belly sporting a $16.19 rally, along with the ham snappy increase of $9.60. All of the other cuts are trading higher as well, but their gains weren't as dramatic. Now it's likely that the market will close with this lackadaisical tone and wait for next week's market to decide if resistance should be broken through or not. We'll get a look at the livestock numbers. You're listening to the American Ag Network.
Empower You for Women. North Dakota Farmers Union will launch Empower You on September 30th at the historic schoolhouse in Nome, North Dakota. The year-long Women in Leadership program will be facilitated by me, Heather McDougall, a national speaker, entrepreneur, and filmmaker. Experience the power of a dream come alive. The program consists of the kickoff event in Nome, 6 Zoom sessions throughout the year, and fun meetup group events across the state. It's open to anyone for just $30. To learn more and register, go to ndfu.org.
The pets in our homes love us, from the moment they meet us until the day they leave us. Homeless animals would do the same if only they had the chance. Be an animal's hero and adopt. Turtle Mountain Animal Rescue has the perfect 4-legged family member for you right now. Find yours at turtlemountainanimalrescue.org.
Let's get a look at the livestock numbers. Live cattle October down 45 at 183.20. December down 12 at 187.37. February up 15 at 191.55. And the April live cattle, they're up 17 at 195.12. Feeders, September down 17 at 255.40. October up a quarter at 259.12. Lean hogs, October down 117 at 81.65. December down 60 at 74.67. And the February lean hogs, they're down 45 at 78.72. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvet.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I am so excited that I get control of all the buttons today. So Dean's not here. That means no screaming goat. Instead, my barn's going to moo. And I am going to keep tossing out the thunder for Justin. There we go. So
love to hear it. I wish we heard it more often around here this year.
that would have been nice. Okay, so that kind of leads me into our Here We Grow project, which we have been raising 20 acres of soybeans. We custom farmed them up by Prosper, North Dakota with our farmer partner, Jim Hewlin. And yeah, we didn't get a lot of rain, but we got a lot of help. And in some of the ways that we did that was Gowan Company. Gowan stepped in with a Fiance fungicide. It's 2 different modes of action for white mold control. That was awesome. Our beans are clean. I never saw a problem the times that I was in the field this year where I was concerned about white mold. The other person that helped us out a lot was Red Wing Shoes. Thank you to Teresa and her gang on Main Avenue. They outfitted us with Red Wings so we could go to the field. When you stop to see us next week at Big Iron, we'll have our Red Wings. So big thank you to Teresa. Make sure you stop in town and see her when you're in Fargo for Big Iron next week. Our guest today, though, is going to fit right into our Here We Grow project. That's we brought with us Dr. Carrie Miranda. She is the soybean breeder at North Dakota State University here in Fargo. And on the break, we were talking about all the things that people should know about our soybeans. And we've tried to explain as best we can throughout our growing season. But we're now at the point where there's a new term to teach.
Yes, we're talking about senescing.
All right, so tell us more.
Yeah, so the same way that we can see that the trees are starting to change color, they get the cue that the temperature is getting cooler. Okay, it's time to shut down for winter so that they can survive. Soybean also knows, okay, the season's coming up. If I want to save my seed, it's time to dry down. And so after it gets the cue that, okay, pods are sufficiently filled, the temperatures are getting cooler, that's when it starts turning off chlorophyll production and the leaves turn yellow. And then after the leaves turn yellow, they start to drop and then they dry down completely, which is what we call maturity. And then that's when you know your plant is ready to harvest.
Okay, so we're at that point right now. But does that mean, even though our plants are starting to turn, how much more time do we have to continue to grow yield? I mean, we're not going to get no more flowers.
That's right.
But what's going to happen with the pods?
So by the time they start turning yellow, pod fill should be completed.
Okay.
So if there was sufficient water, you should see nice fat pods at this point. From what, was just driving down to Lemoore yesterday. So then I was driving through Lisbon and Colfax. Those are big soybean areas. Mm-hmm. And most of those were still pretty green.
Okay,
which is totally fine, right?
Yep.
So the plant isn't finished pod filling yet. We're supposed to get some rain on Saturday. Great. At this time of year, I'm like, okay, that's enough rain. Grandin unfortunately didn't get a lot of rain this year, but the plants still look pretty good. And so we're actually going to start harvesting that one as soon as September 21st.
What should root systems look? Okay, so it's dry. Like yesterday when I pulled one of the plants out of the ground. Sorry again, Justin. I'm sorry. How deep should they be rooted?
Yeah, so that, I'm actually, we just received funding from the United Soybean Board. And I feel like at this time, too, I always have to thank my funders.
Go ahead.
Because it's paid for through the checkoff program. So the checkoff dollars from every bushel of soybean that is brought to the elevator gets distributed to the United Soybean Board, which is the national checkoff fund, the regional, and we are in the North Central Soybean Research Program, and then, of course, North Dakota Soybean Council. Those, I receive all of my funding through them, most heavily through the North Dakota Soybean Council, so I'm very grateful to them.
Yeah.
But USB, so the national one, just funded a multi-university project to study root systems and how they've changed as we have bred for yield over the decades. Yeah, because those root systems have actually gotten smaller. Now, what does that mean?
Okay.
Does that mean that they're less resilient to drought? Does it mean anything?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. So the answer to your question is TBD. we're still trying to understand. We know that the root systems have gotten smaller as we bred for yield, but we don't understand that there's any actual implication to that.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, look at corn roots, right?
Right, because they're
corn
huge.
was corn, but they're shallow.
Mm-hmm.
Like corn was a grass. Those should have some of the deepest root systems, and as they bred for yield and hybrids, that root system has gotten thick and short. Okay. So yeah, it's really interesting to learn about that. But I mean, the plants survive. They sometimes need to be babied a little bit more and make sure that we are providing the nutrients for them. Like if you just took some soybean and threw it into like a grassy field, it's not going to survive, right?
All right.
So I mean, so we have bred them to be high yielding, but have to be taken care of to a high degree.
Oh man, now I want to ask questions about corn roots, but
Please don't.
Okay.
That is the extent of my knowledge about corn roots.
Okay, no problem. Because I was gonna go to like short stature corn that's coming out now. So okay, we'll do that later.
I can just say I saw the pictures. Cool.
Okay, yeah, they're like the world's easiest corn maze because at maturity this corn's like shorter than I am.
Yeah,
so
I think it's like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, with those back to our soybeans though, that's always a discussion that I see seed dealers have with farmers. Well, do you want a tall bushy bean? Does it matter how tall the bean gets if it has all the right pods on it? And I think I heard you say none of that really matters.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm a breeder, right? I'm not a production farmer. For me, I would be most concerned with yield over the years. So that's why at NDSU we also do private company yield trials, which I think is very useful to growers because they can see all the companies side by side by an independent testing. And, the private companies for the yield tests, actually, they pay to participate in that. So this is like, good faith. So I think that yield is important, especially in the Red River Valley. We need to start thinking about diseases. I know that is something that's new because a lot of growers, soybean is still relatively new to North Dakota, so we haven't had a lot of disease pressure, but it's coming.
Okay.
So, start looking at soybean cyst nematode resistance, Phytophthora resistance, and of course, your favorite herbicide.
Oh, we've got way more coming with that. Okay, I have to ask that question though. When it comes to disease, and I listened to things that are happening like in Iowa and so forth, we've got gall midge and whatnot moving this way. Are you also breeding against insect potentials?
So we actually do have an aphid resistant variety.
Okay.
What's interesting is that some of these traits are owned by other entities. So actually that trait is owned by University of Illinois. So there's a licensing fee to it. And so that changes the price a little bit, which is sometimes not people, you evaluate, is the cost worth it to have aphid resistance? And people were like, oh, well, I can just spray. So that's usually what it comes down to, right?
Okay.
Can I spray and control white mold, insects, whatever? And so in terms of a breeder, that one's a little bit more difficult, especially if someone else hasn't figured out the genetic source of the resistance. Okay. Because we can try that, but the pathologists and the geneticists, and molecular biologists that work specifically on that their whole career are way better at it.
Hey, Justin, I thought we just grew soybeans, and she just said like rocket scientists fixed them for us. I had no idea.
Yeah, every variety that comes out is probably the work of like 50 plus scientists.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, whenever
That is very fascinating.
yeah, especially go hug a plant pathologist today, because they're the ones that have done the really, really hard work, like 10 years of validation. And then what I do is I'm like, oh, thanks for the gene. And then I put it in the variety. And so, yeah, it's definitely, we don't get the credit for the plant pathologists, for the disease resistance, the pathologists definitely deserve it.
Okay, you just brought something up about how, thanks for the gene. And so when we come back, one of the things we're going to need you to answer is, so how did you get that gene in the plant? So, okay, we'll be coming back with that. Stay tuned. We're going to continue this discussion with Dr. Carrie Miranda, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So be right back.
At Summit Carbon Solutions, the safety of landowners, communities, and workers is our top priority. Here are some of the safety steps we're following on our new carbon capture and storage project. Summit Carbon Solutions will use top-rated materials, including American-made steel. We'll go beyond U.S. Department of Transportation regulations. The pipeline will be buried at least 4 feet deep instead of the required 3. 100% of welds will be X-rayed instead of 10%. We'll deploy real-time leak detection and in-person monitoring 24/7, 365 days a year. This will be the safest pipeline ever built in the U.S. Pipelines are the safest mode of transportation, and the 5,300 miles of CO2 pipelines in service today are the safest of all pipelines. In fact, there has never been a fatality from a CO2 pipeline. This project will drive job growth across the Midwest and boost the ethanol and ag industries that are critical to the U.S. economy. Learn more at summitcarbonsolutions.com.
Headed to Big Iron? Stop by and visit General Equipment and Supplies September 12th through the 14th, located in booths 201 to 204. Check out their agricultural equipment on display from Komatsu, JCB, and Hitachi. And be sure to ask the folks from General Equipment and Supplies about their wheel loader egg lease programs and financing options too. You can thank them later. Contact your local General Equipment and Supplies for more information. We'll see you at Big Iron September 12th through the 14th.
Okay, so what do Americans do at least once per week? Yep, get their vehicle washed. Take some pride in that ride and take it to Tommy's Express Car Wash. Yeah, it's a system to get you the best car wash, fast, and your vehicle looking great. 4 Tommy's Express Car Wash locations in Fargo on 32nd Avenue and across from West Acres, and in Moorhead on South 8th Street and on US 10. So take care of that fly ride at one of the 4 Tommy's Express Car Wash locations in Fargo, Moorhead. Tommy's Express Car Wash.
Hello from the WDAY News Center. I'm Ty Schoenert with your news update. 2 adults in custody, 2 children in the care of social services after the discovery of 1,330 pills. The Moorhead Police Department says they made the discovery during a search warrant on Wednesday in the 1200 block of Bellesley Boulevard. In addition to the 1,300 fentanyl pills, there were also $2,700 in cash near the drugs. Clay County Social Services also made aware of 2 children who were found in the home. A Fargo man accused of microwaving a kitten to death and assaulting his ex-girlfriend facing criminal charges. Fargo police called to a home on a domestic violence call this past weekend where a woman reported her ex-boyfriend, Carlos Perez, slapped her, cut her lip, and locked her in a closet after they got into an argument. The woman told officers in August Perez microwaved her kitten until it died after he became angry while she was at a Pink concert. Perez charged with aggravated assault, animal cruelty, and terrorizing. And the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources hoping the drought affecting parts of the state will not have a big impact on this year's fall colors. The agency began sharing updates on the changing leaf color across the state through its online fall color finder. This week's color map showing leaves beginning to change slightly in the northwest and western parts of the state. The peak of default color change expected later this month and into mid-October. I'm Ty Schoenert with WDAY and WDAYRadioNow.com. First with the news when you need to know.
It's Weather and Ag in Focus.
Tillage Tuesday, a weekly social media discussion between agronomists regarding the pros and cons of tillage in various soil conditions.
Hi, I'm Bridgette, Readel, Ag Director. Join me during Big Iron Farm Show at the Morton Building Wednesday, September 13th from 11 to 1. Larry Lunder and Jason Hansen from Twitter's #TillageTuesday are joining us for a social media meetup. Join us to weigh in on whether or not to till or not to till. #TillageTuesday tweet up live from the Morton Building.
Hi, my name is Maria, and my life before the Perry Center was destructive, chaotic, and stressful. I was pregnant and alone. The Perry Center showed me a new way of living, supported me, and gave me hope for me and my baby's future.
I'm Nate Douglas, Executive Director for the Perry Center. At the Perry Center, we come alongside women just like Maria and show them how to thrive in independence. Financially support your local pro-life maternity home by going to perrycenter.org. That's perrycenter.org.
Fall registration is now open at Olivet Lutheran Church. Register your kids for Sunday school, Wednesday school, and confirmation. And adults, we have something for you too. Join our choir, handbell choir, numerous Bible studies, including a women's-specific Bible study, our food pantry group, be a youth group leader or teacher, and more. Sunday school will begin on September 17th, and Wednesday school and confirmation will begin on September 20th. For more information and to get registered, go to olivet.org. Encounter Jesus, experience grace at Olivet Lutheran Church.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And welcome back, Justin Storm. We are so glad that you are joining us after you have been gone for a few days.
Many days.
Many days. Maybe you'll be bringing a little of the thunder back with you. We'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Hopefully. We'll see what we can do over the weekend.
So thank you to everyone who continues to join us. Our conversation today is with Dr. Carrie Miranda. She is the soybean breeder at NDSU, and there are so many different ways for us to ask these questions, so many different things. I mean, on break here, we're barely getting all our stuff in to talk about. My question as we were ending our last segment had to do with, all right, soybean breeding. We are familiar with the story of how traits such as the Roundup Ready gene got into a soybean plant, right? The story is at the time the company was Monsanto. They literally loaded that DNA on a shotgun shell, shot a soybean plant with a shotgun. The gun is still on display in St. Louis. And then as the plant healed and continued to produce seed, it now had the trait in it. And this is a naturally occurring trait. It was not Frankensteined in a lab. There is natural tolerance in Mother Nature. But I don't think that's what you do. Do you walk through the fields, Carrie, with a shotgun shooting traits in? What does soybean breeding actually look like?
I'm pretty sure the state of North Dakota would frown upon that.
I don't know. Let me call Game and Fish while you talk.
So there are genetically engineered traits.
Yes.
The herbicide traits.
Okay.
They are typically genes that are found in other species that are resistant to the herbicide.
Okay.
For example, an interesting one is dicamba.
Yes.
You know, the extend beans. So that was actually made at University of Nebraska-Lincoln by a researcher, Tom Clemente, who did the first Roundup Ready 1 bean at Monsanto and then went to academia. So he is purely lab, and he was able to find the dicamba resistance gene by growing bacteria that were able to survive on the chemical, isolated the gene, cut it out, and then we have much more sophisticated methods of delivering genes to plants now. So that's an example of a completely like a GMO, an engineered plant.
Right.
And now what they do is they'll take the gene, and it's actually very easy to take a gene and kind of like paste it into a bacterium.
Okay.
And then you take the bacterium and let it infect the soybean plant. And then
this sounds like a biohazard. I just want you to know that.
I used to work with radiation, so this one is much easier.
Explains why you glowed in the dark coming down the hall. Okay.
So then the bacterium infects, and they have the gene inside of them, and then you just cut a little piece of that off, add a chemical, and then a callus grows, and then it grows into a brand new soybean plant. It's actually like unbelievable. It's almost like a miracle when you see it. Like, wow, clever. But no, I don't do that. That's like a whole, actually NDSU was like, we don't want to pay for those permits. Please try not to create your own GMOs.
Okay.
So what we do, even with lines that do have GMO traits in them, GMO genes, What we do is much more basic. It's called conventional breeding.
Okay.
And all I do is I find one plant that has a gene of interest, whether it's a GMO or a disease trait, and I take its pollen and I just pollinate a flower from usually a high yielding background. So it's like I'm taking a high yielding background and trying to improve it with disease resistance or something like that. So then I take the seed that comes from that pod, that one specific pod that I pollinated, and then I just keep growing it out until it's mature enough to test for yield.
All right, Justin, this is how we're going to have to make our gardens better.
You can actually be a hobbyist breeder. I think orchids are an example. All the varieties of orchids are done by hobbyists.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was I remember when I was an undergrad, and I am actually from Ohio. I went to Cleveland State University, and I gave a talk at the botanical garden there. And I was like, yeah, orchids are just made by hobbyists. You know, you don't have to have a PhD to be a plant breeder.
Well, I don't think I'm signing up for your job yet, but okay. I mean, really?
Yeah. So like something fun.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Like tomato is something, you have a Roma tomato and you have, I don't know, an heirloom tomato. Try taking the pollen from your Roma and pollinating your heirloom, save that seed from, whatever grows from that and grow it the next year.
Oh, okay. So I'm sure every gardener is now listening and is quickly dialing 701-293-9000, which is our show hotline sponsored by Red Wing Shoes. And Justin, I might do that in my tomatoes, but you don't do that in yours because I want better tomatoes.
Yeah, it is a fun thing.
I do a bit myself.
Okay.
One of my, I want to be a hobbyist breeder as well. And one thing I want to do is breed a new lemon tree. But that requires patience.
Oh.
It takes even I'm growing some Meyer lemons right now, and it's 5 years just for the first flower to show.
I have a lemon tree. I should bring my lemon tree, and it should just park at your house until it gets better because I have 3 lemons on it.
Oh, you have gotten lemons from it.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So far, so good. I got 3.
I got a banana tree.
What?
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got a banana tree.
Oh, that's cool.
Have you gotten bananas, number 1? And number 2, please tell me you can sing the Chiquita Banana song.
No and no.
Oh. Terribly disappointing.
No bananas yet. We're hoping for next year, maybe get the first small round of bananas out of it.
Things we know and do. Oh, that's awesome.
So I wanted to ask you a question there, Dr. Miranda. When you had brought back the topic that came up with the GMO, when you cut that gene into a plant and it gets that label GMO or genetically modified, a lot of times, and I'm seeing this on social media now, people taking pictures on the back of a soup can or a bag or something that they would find at the grocery store, and it says something along the lines of bioengineered source or bioengineered plant sourced. And people are freaking out over this and they have no idea what's going on. What would you say to explain what that bioengineered plant, what it actually means and why it has to be displayed? If you have an answer for that, I guess.
Well, I think that the reason it has to be displayed is as scientists were creating this new technology, we didn't take the time to do the public health explanation, right? We didn't do the communications. We just went ahead and by we, I mean, this is whatever, I was 10 years old when these came out.
In the past.
The first GMO came out in 1993, the tomato saver, which I believe was also Monsanto. So I think that lack of public education, which should have been carried out by the scientists in the first place, is the reason why people are like, oh, we don't understand what's going on. We don't understand what's going on. Okay, that's fair enough. And so, I feel like most of us are on damage control now. For me, but people would be very surprised to know, there aren't actually that many GMOs.
7. Well, 7 traits. The 7 true traits.
Yeah, if you go to the USDA website and you can see the list of approved GMOs, it's quite short.
Yes.
And the one that might be most surprising is squash, yellow squash.
Oh.
Yellow squash was actually engineered because the entire industry, much like Hawaiian papaya, was going to be decimated by, I think, a fungus.
Yes.
And so they found a gene that conferred resistance and then put it into pretty much all yellow squash and saved the industry. Same with Hawaiian papaya. In my opinion, that is just an amazing feat of human ingenuity. I might be biased when I have my opinion. If someone wants to complain, oh, I don't know how I feel about these herbicide traits being used. I don't know how I feel about 2,4-D or dicamba. That's fair enough. That's a separate conversation. But in terms of actually creating GMOs, the way I see it, it just shows like how far human civilization has gone, that we can manipulate plants to survive diseases that would have completely eliminated the species.
Absolutely. And can also affect human health.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have those species, think about golden rice.
Yeah, the
and
golden
that
rice
situation.
That's a pretty canonical story I like to tell my students too. But what's interesting about that one is that even though it was successful in terms of, so in case for people aren't familiar with golden rice,
please, yes,
there was a vitamin A deficiency in Southeast Asia because people mainly eat white rice and don't maybe have access to vegetables and fruits that have vitamin A, don't have access to enough meat. And so children were going blind, like hundreds of thousands to millions were going blind. And so scientists were like, oh, you know what? We can take the beta carotene gene from a daffodil, cut that out and put it in rice and save the problem. And it worked. It worked beautifully. The rice now had high levels of vitamin A. And then there was like this huge freak out and there are all these controversies. But what's interesting is what actually killed it is that people didn't want to eat it because it wasn't white.
Right.
It wasn't actually about the GMO. It was about the fact that it didn't look like what they were used to. And so, I've done a bit of like development in terms of food security and hunger, international development. And so we learn about this idea of food sovereignty. You can't tell people what to eat.
Right.
And so, it's actually like a very so all of this is very complex, so you have to respect people's opinions too. So if people are uncertain about GMOs, then it's okay. Let it be labeled. And if you don't want to eat it, then don't eat it. But for most of us, we're going to be like, oh, that can of Campbell's soup, I didn't know that they used engineered corn.
Yeah.
What else? Like, I'm not gonna change what I buy. I'm just like, oh, neat.
Oh, okay. By the way, Justin, I just want to quick tell you, I'm not going to type you this message in Slack, but on a day when I'm gone, I think I found you my new fill-in host right over here. I mean, I've got a short list of...
That would work.
Yeah, I got a couple other folks, but I think I just put Dr. Miranda on it too.
I always want to talk about soybean. Sometimes when I teach my class in the fall, I teach plant breeding. I have to be like, oh, okay, I guess you guys can go now.
I'm so excited to talk about this.
Sorry, I just want to keep talking about it.
Right. How long does this whole process take from when you start from like say an idea and you start trying to breed these traits into another soybean variety, and you keep getting generation after generation testing of seeing what the yields are like, to eventually having this become a variety that somebody could purchase from NDSU or somewhere else? What's that time period look like from start to finish on creating a new variety of soybean?
Yeah, that's a great question, because this is the one that most people are like, what? So from pollination, if we go by one season a year in North Dakota, right? That's what we have. If I only did my increases and my generation advancement and so the generation advancement would be from the first pollination until it's ready to be tested for yield, that right there would take 5 years. And then we would do another 4 years of yield testing in different environments throughout the state. And then what we have to do is produce breeder seed, which is about 300 to 600 pounds of super, super, super pure seed, which I then hand off to, if anyone's ever heard of NDSU Foundation seed stocks.
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah. So then they start doing like the tons of seed production. That's when you have your foundation seed. And then from the foundation seed, they can produce acres and acres and acres of registered seed. And then finally, it's contracted out to create certified seed, which is what you can buy.
Oh, there's going to have to be so much more we talk about one a day.
Yeah, that whole there is like an hour-long lecture that I give.
Oh, man.
Well, we'll have to have you come back, Dr. Carrie Miranda, but I appreciate you coming on the show with us and explaining what you have so far about soybeans. If someone listening wants to get more information about this, or maybe see what NDSU has to offer with seed varieties, where could they go to get that information, or any websites or social media platforms?
Yeah, so the NDSU website is full of all the plant breeders information. I know it's a bit past the time now, but always encouraged to come to NDSU Field Days as well. Those are really great opportunities, and there's usually like events afterwards. The president, Dr. Cook, is often at them too. So yeah, you can learn so much information from there. And then, of course, just reach out to us. You know, we always want to have a conversation. I always want to talk about soybean.
This is perfect.
Well, really appreciate it. We're going to get caught up with a few bits of news here. When we come back, we got another check on the forecast, a couple of ag topics, and, of course, any questions you may have. So stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
Our daughter was doing poorly in her last 2 classes of the day until our neighbor suggested it might be her vision. Eyes on 45th fixed that for her.
Academic performance is so tied to good vision. Back to school is on, and Eyes on 45th are taking many appointments for students right now. Get them in and make sure with Dr. Tufty. Eyes on 45th, 1801 45th Street South in Fargo. Get your students' vision checked soon. Eyes on 45th in Fargo.
Hi, this is John Trelichka, owner of North Star Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Be it an emergency or plumbing that needs to be done, call the experts at North Star Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. We get calls for kitchens, bathrooms, and drain backups all the time. We're fast and our prices are very competitive. Call us 24/7 at 701-367-9592. North Star Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Check us out at northstarplumbingnd.com. North Star Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. That's North Star Plumbing and Drain Cleaning.
Sweet Shots is making Monday fun with College Night. Get half-price Top Tracer Golf all day, $12 large pizzas plus $3 pounders of Busch and Coors Light, and $5 off party draft towers. Tuesday's live trivia beginning at 6, play in the lounge or in the bay, and get there early for weekday happy hour 3:30 to 6:30 with $3 house wines and White Claws, $4 taps, and half-price apps. And it's not too early to plan that company party. They specialize in family-friendly office parties at Sweet Shots in Fargo.
Headed to Big Iron? Stop by and visit General Equipment and Supplies September 12th through the 14th, located in booths 201 to 204. Check out their agricultural equipment on display from Komatsu, JCB, and Hitachi. And be sure to ask the folks from General Equipment and Supplies about their wheel loader ag lease programs and financing options too. You can thank them later. Contact your local General Equipment and Supplies for more information. We'll see you at Big Iron September 12th through the 14th.
Now's the time to spruce up the trim around the windows, add a pop of color to your front door, and paint the old planters. The team at Hirschfield's wants you to know that they have 5,020 paint colors to choose from, and their experienced staff is ready to help. At Hirschfield's, they don't sell light bulbs, lawnmowers, or lumber. They specialize in home improvement and decorating. That's their business, so why go anywhere else? Stop into your local Hirschfield's Paint and Coatings or go to hirschfields.com to learn more.
Mark your calendars and join the Coffee Club live on location at Shea West Garden Center September 15th for day 2 of the 3rd annual Apple Smash. This includes discounts on garden decor and planters, crafts for the littles, a family photo op, fresh cider, and apple donuts. That's the 3rd annual Apple Smash, September 14th through 17th at Shea West Garden Center on the corner of Cheyenne and 40th West Fargo. Again, Cheyenne and 40th West Fargo.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No. We tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our client's best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Dean Wysocki on his way down to Twin Cities. It's just myself and Bridgette here today, but we just got done speaking with our guest. That was Dr. Carrie Miranda, NDSU seed breeder for soybeans. It was a very interesting conversation. If you want to go back and listen to that, our live streams are stored on Facebook and YouTube, as well as the website, WDAYradionow.com. It's also where you can go if you want to watch any of the Here We Grow series. We have, I think, 19 episodes out, and episode 20 maybe just came out today. Was it 19 or 20, Bridgette?
I think today would be I think today would be 20. I think today is 20.
I can't believe we have 20 episodes out of that already.
You know, and
that is crazy.
It was too bad Dr. Miranda stepped out of the studio, because now we could say, well, was that the right growing season? 20 weeks? Interesting, right?
You know, now that you think about it, that, I don't know, I'll have to look into that. That just seems a little goofy, I guess. The whole thing just flew by so fast. And we only got a few more weeks left before harvest. And I think we'll have a couple of episodes coming out post-harvest on where the beans are actually going to and what we're going to end up doing with the money that we get from the field. That is, if we make any money. We'll figure out the budget later, but
well, now that
whatever we do make goes to the food bank. We're going to donate all the profits.
Now that we're so close to harvest, and as we were talking about with Dr. Miranda, our soybeans are senescing. We're moving our way to a harvest situation, and the best next step for us is the day that we're riding in the combine or in the trucks as we take those beans in to be delivered. And then the next step after that is getting that great big check. I wonder if somebody's going to give us like the really big cardboard check, like Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah, like the Happy Gilmore checks.
Yeah, is that the check that we're delivering? I hope so.
I sure hope it is.
I want it to be as tall as us.
Oh, now wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, it would.
Oh, man. Well, we got a couple ag topics here, Bridgette, and we'll probably have enough time to at least get to 2 out of the 3 that we have for today.
Okay.
And let's just start off right at the top, and this is going with teachers and getting an agriculture lesson.
So this was literally a in the classroom situation for teachers, both in science and ag and other disciplines in high schools. And they attended this workshop that was put on by the North Dakota Soybean Council in conjunction with the Corn Utilization Council. And this really focused on a lot of biotechnology that can be used in their classrooms. Teachers learned how to make ethanol and soy biodiesel. Don't tell the school boards that, or they're all going to wind up having to make more diesel for the buses. But they could
there's no one to drive them anyway.
Right. They could take those connections between biology and biotech and merge them together, and the impact that ag has on all the sectors for the students. And they have lessons now they can use, such as working with drones, GPS, marketing, and just really what happens in the food chain, literally, as things arrive for students to consume. So it was a great experience from all the teachers' reports back.
Right on. And this next ag topic is going to tie into Wednesday's episode. Angie Johnson from NDSU Extension Farm and Ranch Safety was on with you and Dean. And I was able to catch a few bits and pieces throughout the show while I was taking care of little baby there from 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But what can you give me a little reminder on harvest safety?
Well, so when you think about a number of things, first of all, as we're going into soybeans and especially sunflowers, the fines and the dust on those plants that wind up on your machines are very flammable. And a farmer down at Kindred had a great idea where he mounted a small water tank and a pump on the back of the grain cart. So if a fire broke out and he was next to the combine, he could fire up the pump and use the water from the tank and spray down the fire so that they would not lose a combine. Another thing for folks to keep in mind is stalk stompers, because corn and sunflower stalks are actually hard enough that they can puncture combine and tractor tires. So some farmers don't buy their new tires until after harvest so that they don't lose a tire to a puncture. But there is something called a stalk stomper, which would go in front of the combine tires that would knock over those stalks so you don't puncture a tire and have an expensive downtime that way. There's a few things to do there.
Right on. And let's just run down a quick wrap on the forecast before we call today a day and head into the weekend, which is shaping up to be fairly nice. 74 degrees right now, shooting for highs near 78. We'll have a southwest wind, about 5 to 15, switching to the north-northwest throughout this afternoon. For tonight, lows in the upper 50s, a few scattered showers, as well as into your Saturday morning. The afternoon looks pretty dry outside of a possible pop-up shower. And then for Sunday, partly cloudy with temps in the lower 70s. Should be a nice one. But that'll do it for us here on Weather and Ag and Focus today. The Jay Thomas Show will be coming up next.
Fall registration